Yes, guys, welcome back to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back because we now know who is doubling in game week 25. We're going to get a double for Villa and Liverpool. If you're watching on catch up, this is going to be a brilliant hour. If you're watching live, hopefully you're going to enjoy yourselves too. We're going to have our first opinions to the big news, which is doubles for Liverpool, doubles for Villa, assistant manager chip thoughts and transfers in and FA Cup stuff to look ahead to. The next game week is, of course, a week today. I'm joined by regular co-host. First up, Mr. Dean Jones, all the way in San Diego. Dean, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, mate. Thank you.
And Mr. Bigman Backer. Bigman, how are you, mate? Good to see you.
All good, Johnny. Hello, Dean. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers.
I cannot wait for today because we're going to be discussing Bigman on slot, me on Emery, Dean on bench boost, but also what are we thinking in terms of early thoughts for game week 25. And we want you lot to add your opinions in the chat. We'll bring up as much as we can. Maliki says, going against Salah captaincy again with Watkins. Maliki, seeing as you sent such a generous super chat, I think that's where we'll start.
He did that hours ago.
Loved that. As soon as it was scheduled, bang.
Honestly, yeah.
You're the man, Maliki. We love you very much. Watkins isn't in the FA Cup squad. I think they play Spurs on Sunday. Emery has spoken today and said he's not training. We're taking it day by day, but he says he'll very likely be available next week. I'd be very surprised if Ollie Watkins is not in the starting 11 for both Ipswich and Liverpool. So my first question to you, Dean, is Watkins, he's a good buy. If we're going for an Aston Villa attacker, he is the one to go for, right?
I mean, yeah, unless this injury is bad, in which case he's definitely not, is he? That's going to be an issue that we have to contend with over the next week to kind of consider. I think the likelihood is he will be there, but if there's a doubt, do you bring him in, knowing he might miss the first one? Don't know if you would.
That's the money one, the Ipswich fixture, isn't it?
The Ipswich one's the one. Like the Liverpool one's a bonus, hopeful one, right? And that's where the concern would come for me. I mean, Villa really in trouble if Watkins has got a problem. And don't look, groin injuries are really difficult to overcome, right? You saw him feel it in that game. He wasn't playing well anyway.
He played on, didn't he, till half time?
Plays on. You can see he's feeling it. They take him out. Still bothering him now. Obviously, like FA Cup isn't their priority at the moment anyway, so that's okay. But the way that he moves, that's a dodgy one, you know. And if he doesn't play, they're going to have to play Marcus Rashford up front. They're going to have to. They ain't got anyone else.
Marlon, number 9.
I just don't see they're going to have any choice. Like with Duran going, if Watkins isn't fit, you got Marco Asensio, who has played as a false type 9 for PSG. Unsuccessfully. You know, he's 5'9". He's not made for anything like the Ollie Watkins role. Rashford's the closest you've got to it. Interestingly, Rashford's only played centre forward once this season. It was against Ipswich and he scored in 80 seconds in Ruben Amorim's first game. So it's the only time that Marcus Rashford might go into a game with a bit of confidence. I mean, I'll be honest, he played rubbish for the rest of the game, but to score in 80 seconds, Rashford had his moment. So I don't know, mate. I don't think. Well, I know I'm not going to Ollie Watkins. Like I've got to do something with Villa, and I'm happier with having the 3 forwards of Gakpo, Isak, and Wood.
You can't sell those 3 for me. Like, no. I think the only people that go in Ollie Watkins should be people like me that have a João Pedro spot up for grabs.
Yes,
and I can find the money and do that. But I'm not selling an Isak. I'm seeing a lot. Big man, I'm going to come to you now because I know a lot of content creators are selling Isak to Watkins if he's fit. And I feel like that might be something you're open to or not.
I think it's something I'm very, very open to, depending on my assessment of Watkins's minutes. I think that's a crucial part, right? Because Villa have like 4 games in the span of like 10 days coming up. So unless like Watkins is fully fit and we know that he's going to play both fixtures, it's something I won't do. But if he's fit, I have no problem swapping Isak out from simply because of the volume of fixtures that I'm getting and the quality of the fixtures as well. I think Isak will be a sell in like 2 or 3 weeks anyway, because Newcastle will be blanking in 29. And if Newcastle are playing City away, Forest at home, Liverpool away in the next 3 weeks, I have no problem selling him.
Mate, I'm shocked. I knew you were thinking this because you had told me a while ago, and I've seen a couple of content creators saying the same, big accounts. Like I think Let's Talk FBL tweeted earlier, he was thinking the same. I think it's madness. I think it's madness to sell Isak. I like the Watkins shout. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to own Watkins. And by the way, no 4 in 10. It's Ollie Watkins. He's a fitness monster when he's fit, right? If he's fit, he'll be fine for all 4 of them. I've got no doubt. And then after that, I think it's a week's break. But selling Isak, man, like a few are looking to maybe sell Palmer and get the money that way, and a few looking to sell Isak, get the money that way. I just think fixtures like City and Forest and Liverpool for Isak are fine. Like we've just seen Isak run Gabriel and Saliba ragged. Like he'll score goals against anyone. I get it though, big man. Let me just push you on that free hit 29 angle. The reason why Isak is a sell for you, or could be, is because you're looking at 29 and Newcastle don't have a fixture. Are you therefore very likely to navigate 29 with free transfers and not free hit? Because I'm free hitting in 29.
You are. What has changed actually? Because from the last time we discussed, you were sort of leaning towards not free hitting in 29. Is there something changed?
It was if Spurs Fulham got the double, I was going to not free hit, and if Liverpool Villa got the double, I was going to free hit because I've got 8 players due to blank, and the assistant manager chip then also came into play, and that's another 3 transfers I've got to use on assistant managers. So for me, the big thing was the Villa-Liverpool double, plus the fact that I went and used an assistant manager chip, which I wasn't planning, which is another 3 transfers not accumulating towards 29. And I guess the third reason is I don't really want to sell Newcastle and Liverpool players. Like I think they're both flying at the minute. So I'm happy holding the likes of Salah and Gakpo and Trent if he's fit. Maybe Watkins, but certainly Isak and Hall. I want to own these guys knowing everyone else is selling them. And actually the fixtures either side of 30, I think are fine because the teams are just so good.
I think I'm more open to the idea of free hitting in 29 than I was a couple of weeks ago. Simply because of how the fixtures have fallen. We're now expecting the transition from 33 to game week 34, which is expected to be the bigger blank, game week 34. We're expecting the transition from 33 to 34 to be relatively easier as we were 2 weeks earlier. So game week 29 free hit becomes a lot more viable. But luckily enough, I guess with the way fixtures have fallen, suit my team perfectly. And with the free transfer, and I already have 2 Villa, 3 Liverpool. So I don't necessarily need to go out of my way to free hit. I think if Watkins is fit, I'm going to sell Isak anyway. Eze, with his fitness concerns, is a bit of a dodgy pick anyway at this point in time, so he's going to be a sell. So naturally, the way it's working out, I will be selling some of the players who are likely to blank in 29 anyway, irrespective of the blank, because with minutes concerns over Eze, I think I'm going to probably sell him. So I'm not personally considering it, but I won't put anyone off it, depending on the team. But Johnny, I want to add to the the Isak and Watkins discussion. I want to elaborate. You mentioned that selling Isak is you called it madness. I don't think it is actually, because I think you have to actually take into account. Yes, he's just bullet Gabriel Saliba. That's fine. But would you commit like massive surgery and take point hits or commit to a chip in 29 just because you want to hold Isak for Man City, Liverpool, and Nottingham Forest? I don't think so. I really don't. Yes, he's a good player. He's going to score, but he's also very expensive, and he is going to be a transfer out for a lot of people in 29. So, I think I would rather just play it sensibly and just use 1 free transfer rather than commit massive harakiri in my team to ensure that Isak is there. That's just the way I play. I'm just going to go with the volume of fixtures.
Yeah. Dean, thoughts on the fact that the FPL community is going to turn on Isak for what Bigman said. They're going to sell him because he doesn't have a fixture in 29 and because 3 of the 4 biggest FPL content creators out there are going to probably make that move. And therefore, when big names like Bigman do that, of course, his tens of thousands of followers will copy that move.
Yeah, definitely interesting. I wouldn't be going there. I don't really. I just can't turn against the form of somebody so good. He's the best striker around. If any team was to go and sign a striker, it's Isak. So the fixtures don't matter to me. Look, Watkins actually does have a pretty good record of scoring against Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think he scored in 5 in 8 or 5 in 9 in the time that he's played against Liverpool. So that's better than I was expecting, to be honest. And so I don't think it's wholly off-putting. But, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, it makes me want to stick with Isak more if more people are going to be jumping off him, because then hopefully they stay away from him for a while.
Yeah. Big man, just talk to us about the idea of free hit in 34. We're going to know a lot more about what that blank could look like, or we're hopefully going to know more after this weekend, but it's only a gauge, right? We know 33 and 36 are doubles and 34 is a blank. So many will use their free hit in 34 or indeed in 29, as I suggested I am likely to do so.
Exactly. And 34 is likely to have between 2 to 4 or 5 blanks, somewhere around that figure. So it is very team specific as to when you decide to free hit. And then again, in 36, we were expecting to be a bigger double, but I don't think that will be the case. I think 33 will be the bigger double. And with 36, as someone who still has the triple captain in hand, I'm hoping that, you know, some team like Newcastle or City double in 36. And it depends on, you know, whether if they reach the FA Cup semis, then the chance of that obviously increases. And, you know, I'd like to stick the triple captaincy on Haaland or Isak at that point, because I think 33 will most probably be a week where, because of the sheer volume of the doubles, a lot of people will want to bench boost.
Yeah, okay. Dean, we've got ourselves a new subscriber. Jack is in the house.
Yeah, we need thousands more, but thank you. We appreciate one by one, however they come on board. We appreciate you. He says, should I keep Luis Diaz or should I get rid of him? I mean, for me, it's a get rid of, but I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, he didn't start last night. He's going to start against Plymouth. Darwin could get the nod as the number 9 now. Jota could get the nod as the number 9 now. And I'm talking about the Everton game, but in terms of Jack, it's matters from 25. Well, from 25, Jota's probably featured 2 or 3 times, and he could be ready for 60, 70, 80 minutes. Luis Diaz is a hard sell for me, and Gakpo is a hard buy. I think he got player of the match again last night. He's playing very, very well. So yeah, you got to get rid. And Jack, the reason you subscribed was you wanted to ask a question, and we have delivered by answering that. If we see any new faces asking questions that we've never seen before, or just let us know in the chat, we will answer. Of course, we want to always answer from our channel members and anyone else as well. And we'll make sure we have time at the end of the show for a Q&A. But if you are new around here, like and subscribe. And if you're wondering why you can't add your comment to the chat, it's because we've got into subscriber only mode to hopefully convince a few of you to support us.
Yeah, and please do give us a like as you come in today. We really appreciate it, and it gets more eyes on us, so we would appreciate that. I have got a couple of questions, lads, I want to remember to take because it's from the WhatsApp group that we have running here on Chasing Green Arrows, and I shouted out this morning, if anyone wants anything addressing, let me know. And Matt had a couple of things he just wanted a bit of advice on. We've covered a bit of this already, but I'll just read out the whole thing. He said, is it still worth activating the assistant manager chip in game week 25? And who would be the best couple of picks? Also, which players do we need to start getting ready to get rid of before that blank 29?
I mean, I'll do the blank, and Big Man, you do the chip. But I mean, the blanks, we know it's Newcastle, Palace. A fair few of us are going to have Liverpool players. Of course we are. I think I'm 8 players over the double. You need to know if you're going to be free hitting in 29 now, really. You need to know. And then you can keep those players as Newcastle, Liverpool, Palace players. Big Man, if you've still got a chip, if you didn't use a chip last week, triple captain or assistant manager this week are great, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very tricky one. I think if I had the assistant manager chip left, I think I would still probably lean towards using it later as opposed to this week. Simply because I think, you know, game week 26 and 27 aren't exactly the best to use the assistant manager on. There are plenty of, you know, difficult fixtures to call. I think later on in the season there will be better opportunities. So I'd probably wait, you know, depending on how the blanks and doubles fall. I think that decision can be made by game week 20, game week 30 or game week 31. As far as the triple captaincy is concerned, I think I mentioned this in the previous stream as well. I think it's fairly overrated. And I think there will be opportunities where you can play it, even if there isn't a double later. You know, Salah will have Southampton at home. Palmer will have Southampton at home. There will be fixtures, I'm sure, where you can use it. So I don't think you have to use it this week. I do think there will be better opportunities later as well.
Yeah, and obviously, like when this chip was announced, I said I wouldn't react quickly to it. I wanted to see other people kind of try and test it early doors, and then I would kind of hold it for later on in the season. I have to admit, I've had a bit of a twitchy finger in the last couple of days because I've got away with this first game week. As G said, I activated the bench boost, and that was to kind of make up for the points. I hate bench boost. I think it's usually a waste of time for me. I don't usually get that many points from it, but I wanted to close the gap for what I would be losing on people using the assistant manager chip, at least for one of the game weeks. And it's done that. I've got 10 points off of the bench. I'm on 99 points for the game week, and I'll end up a little bit behind, I'm sure, depending on how the result goes, obviously. But the likelihood is, say, Liverpool do beat Everton, that chip pays off for anybody that picks slot. But I've made up a lot of that ground, especially as I had Chris Wood and got his hat-trick points. So I've kind of got away with that week. Now I'm aware that over the next 2 weeks, I'm now going to lose more ground because this assistant manager chip still runs for everybody for 2 more weeks. But I quite like knowing that I'll have it in my back pocket. And my real conundrum, I think, is what do I do about this Aston Villa fixture that's coming up? Because at the moment, I think what I'll do, I've got Cole Palmer, but I think this might be the week that I sell Cole Palmer to bring in a Villa midfielder. And it would just be about getting that right. So no, I'm not going to pick Ollie Watkins, but Morgan Rogers is probably my most likely person to turn to. But obviously there's a conversation around Asensio or Rashford, Ramsey. I don't know. There's other options there. But I think I'm going to have to take the hit on Cole Palmer. Do you think that's a gamble, or do you think a lot of people are starting to also lean away from him?
Yeah, I mean, people are. He's dropped in price, which I think is nuts. He is Southampton and Leicester in 27 and 28. And I think Brighton away next week is also great. Villa's fine. But Southampton and Leicester, like, that's as good as you could ask for. And he is still, this season, been the second pretty much best player in the game. So I'm very pro keeping Palmer if you can. But look, I think you're right to bring up those Villa midfielders. We'll do a poll. Like, which Villa midfielder are you most likely to buy this week?
I think I'd rather have Rodgers than Cole Palmer in that Villa-Chelsea game, though. That would be my thing.
I like Rodgers a lot, but he doesn't have the entry to... Like, Palmer's on everything, right? You get every free kick, every corner, most corners, the penalties. You get 90 minutes absolutely guaranteed.
I could get 3 games of Rodgers, right, over the next 2 game weeks versus 2 for Cole Palmer. And then I could switch back to Cole Palmer when he's got Southampton at home in that next game.
Fair. All right. Yeah, don't mind that. And then it gives you a little bit, as long as you manage to keep the money and you've got the...
Yeah, that's the thing, because obviously Palmer opens up a lot of money if I'm going to a player like that.
Yeah, and Rodgers is on 8 yellows. And by the way, guys, with yellow cards, he picked up the ban for 5. When you reach 10 yellow cards, it's a 2-match ban. If reached by, I think, game week 31, it could be 32. So Rodgers is on a little bit of a tightrope. Not yet, he's on 8 out of the 10. But if he picks up another 2 yellows in the next, 7, 8 game weeks, he's in trouble. So just monitor that. We don't need to worry about it just yet. But we'll do a poll. And let's discuss them. Rodgers versus Asensio versus Rashford versus, let's just chuck Marlon in. Is Marlon a mid or a forward? I haven't even looked. He's 5.5. And then let's talk Emery and managers. So Villa mids. You guys like anyone that's not named Rodgers? Like, would you be tempted on a Asensio or Rashford, big man?
I think without seeing them play in the Villa team, it's really hard to say. I think we need at least a week of data. I'll keep a close eye on the FA Cup game that they have against Spurs. I think that might give us a clue. But I think a more pertinent question should be, you should compare the Aston Villa mids to the Bournemouth mids, because the Bournemouth mids will be really popular as well. This is a very good entry point for them. They're playing Southampton this week, and then they have a really good stretch of fixtures. So I had this week, before the doubles were announced, I had this week sort of earmarked as the Bournemouth week, where we'll be discussing Bournemouth, because they have Southampton at home, Wolves away, Brighton away, Spurs away, Brentford, Ipswich, West Ham. So the fixtures from now on in are just as good as they can get. Would you rather go to a Bournemouth mid, or would you go to a Villa mid for the double? Because I think even if you go for a Villa mid for the double, I don't think the fixtures are good enough to warrant keeping them after this week. So might as well go for the Bournemouth mids straight away, especially at their price, because they allow for a lot. So I think my current thinking is that yes, I think I prefer Rodgers to a Bournemouth mid simply because the price and the double. But outside of that, I don't think I'd go anywhere else. I think I'd rather get a Bournemouth mid over someone like a Rashford. And I want to actually discuss Dango, Semenyo, and Kluivert with you guys because that's a very tricky decision. That's actually a very tricky decision in itself.
I'm buying one of them this week. I know I'm buying.
I think I will as well.
I'm locked in pretty much on my moves this week already. I'm buying Watkins and I'm buying a Bournemouth mid. I mean, I've only got 5.5.
Spill the beans. Spill the beans.
Well, I mean, I'm one of the fortunate managers. I say fortunate. It's been terrible because I've owned 2 absolute duds in João Pedro and Bruno. No one wants João Pedro and Bruno stinking up the team. I've had them. But the one silver lining is I have a route to Watkins. I don't have to sell Chris Wood or Alexander-Isak to get to Watkins. I don't like those moves, as I've said, or Gakpo. I've got João Pedro playing DM for Brighton, who can't score goals. No thanks. I've also got Bruno playing DM for Man United, and they can't score goals. No thanks. So they can get in the bin. Watkins comes in, and then I've got 5.5 to spend on a midfielder. Oh, you can have Bournemouth's number 9 with the Southampton entry point. It's the easiest decision I'll make all season. They're my locked-in moves. But let's discuss those mids, because if I had 6 million to spend, I'd have a real dilemma, right? Is it Kluivert? Is it Semenyo? Is it Dango? But Dean, based purely on price point, Dango at 5, I think Semenyo's 5.6 and Kluivert at 5.9. I'll go for the cheapest option. I still think if I had all the money, I'd still be going Dango though, which makes me very happy on that call.
Really? Yeah, that's interesting. I've got Kluivert already, so I've got 2 Bournemouth players. I've got Kerkez and I've got Kluivert. And that was kind of with this week in mind as well. But Kluivert's just been in great form. Yeah. And look, he should have scored against Liverpool. I'm so disappointed not to have got points out of him from the last game because he should have scored. And he's always in and around it. You look at his points generally recently, Kluivert, like as I say, the 2 points he got last game week, it's not a fair reflection for me on what the game actually threw up. He had 13 points the week before, 22 the week before, 8 the week before that. Like, he's in a really nice streak at the moment, Kluivert. He's been on pens. He's got a really strong mentality. I'm not sure if him or Semenyo is the best player, but it's out of the 2. And so I'm happy to have Kluivert, to be honest. I'm happy to stick with there. I'm surprised you say Dango you think is the best if you were to have them all equally priced. I don't know.
No, if I had the money, if they were all the same price, I'd still be going Kluivert and Semenyo. But in terms of value, I do think if I had the money, I'd go, there's little between them, saved a million, go Dango. But I do think I'd still rank Kluivert number 1 if they were all the same price.
Okay, cool. Twisted Sparky says, don't forget, people, Kluivert's wife has had a baby. He might
it's a load of rubbish. I can't. Honestly, players' wives of babies. The scaremongering on FPL Twitter about this is obscene.
When did she have the baby?
I don't even think she's had the baby. I think she's due next week.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean,
he's not having the child.
I mean, usually the player ends up playing. That's all I can say to that. Like, yeah, if it was me,
we've got the baby celebration. That's all this means.
Yeah, if it was me, then I'd definitely be taking some time off work. I doubt Kluivert will. It's just the way that football works. There's not many times the player ends up missing the game to be at the birth. Either he manages to get to the birth for an hour, darts off, plays the game, and then heads straight back there. Occasionally, it has been known to happen, but. Yeah, I don't know enough about the situation. I don't know if she's in Bournemouth or not. I mean,
if she's in the country.
If she's in Holland or something, then maybe
it's something we concern ourselves with just yet. And it is Andy Martin winding people up on Twitter, but because he's a big account, people are actually listening to him.
Oh, really? Is that where it's coming from? Very much. I need to get some insider intel on this and see what date the baby's due and where she's going to have it.
Yeah. Big man, Bournemouth mids. Let's rank them. How do you feel about them, and where do you think you'll go, and how much you got to spend on that slot? We'll do a poll. Pick them.
I think I can
get money, guys. Go price. Price doesn't matter. Pick one of the 3. We'll do a poll.
Yeah, I think I can afford all 3 of them, and I'm leaning towards Dango as well. So I'm thinking along similar lines to you, Gianni. Simply because he's the cheapest. He's playing forward. He's just got a hat trick. He's got, I think, 4 attacking returns in 4 fixtures. So it's very difficult to see him, being replaced or getting less minutes. I think his minutes are secure. And because he's getting the highest quality of the chances, I might as well go with the striker. Kluivert has also done really well recently, and generally I love going for penalty takers. Johnny, you know me very well, but I feel as if he's overperformed his statistics. You look at a lot of his goals in recent times; they've been bangers. And yes, he's a quality player, but will he keep on scoring them every week? I mean, I have certain reservations regarding that. So I would rather go with the guy who's playing up front, who's likely to get the better chances. I really like Semenyo, so I think if I was to rank them, I'd probably rank Dango, Semenyo, Kluivert in that order.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Semenyo. I mean, we've got some numbers to show you. I did a visual graphic on my channel, which I think we've got a screen grab of. Likewise, I've got a chart on these Bournemouth mids, so we might be able to show you either of those graphics works when discussing those three players. But yeah, there's very little to split them, even in the numbers. Like Semenyo takes the most shots. Kluivert's got the best in terms of overperformance, I think, of his XG. But then Dango's got the average position. And I think Semenyo probably has the highest expected assist threat. Dean, if all are fit at the start of the season, Kluivert's not a 90-minute man. He's probably in the 11, but not absolutely nailed. But he's played himself in, hasn't he? He's become an integral part of this team. And obviously they've had injuries. But he wasn't first choice even. Guaranteed first choice at the start of the season, Kluivert. While Semenyo, clearly, he's the talisman in that team.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, look, Kluivert's got really good pedigree, and he's been talked about for a long time. He's just struggled to really find a place to call home. But Justin Kluivert, he's been at Ajax, Roma, Leipzig, Nice, Valencia. Now he's at Bournemouth. He's only 25.
Every big league.
He's big league. He's done a European tour, and he's been at some nice stops along the way. And he feels now at a point where he just wants to be himself. Obviously, his dad was Patrick Kluivert. For those that don't know, Patrick Kluivert is one of the best strikers of all time, basically. And so you've got that, you've got to come out the shadows of that as well to deal with all of this. And particularly in his early days at Ajax, that would have been difficult. But I think a club like Bournemouth has really suited him, and certainly the style of play is really suiting him. And the togetherness of this team, which I keep pointing out, has been really key to their success. So, yeah, they're finally kind of unlocking him in terms of his full potential. Now, a lot of his goals have been pens, so I understand. He scored a hat-trick as well, so that kind of takes the stats out of context a little bit when you consider goals to games. But I like him. When I watch Bournemouth, and this is how I play the game, right? I don't study data. I'm not studying stats. I'm just watching football. That's why I play FPL. I like watching the games, and then I like picking what I see. And when I watch Bournemouth, the two I like are Semenyo and Kluivert. They're always the two that are so threatening and so regular in terms of where the build-up plays coming and the positions that they're lurking in. Kluivert has a lot of follow-up runs into the box. He just if the ball is just short of getting to him, so it won't show up on charts, but he's there. Trust me.
Hey, that disallowed goal the other day was amazing. That doesn't show up in the stats because it was disallowed. Yeah. The twinkle toes.
Yeah, exactly. He's an unbelievable footballer. But I think Semenyo's the best player. And I think I think Bournemouth will do well to hold on to Semenyo beyond this season as well. But yeah, so two Bournemouth assets for me. Kirkes as well, which I think has been pretty locked pick for a while now for me.
Pick one, Kluivert, 55%. 55% on Kluivert. The other two pretty split. Sorry, big man, go on. I saw the comment. Go on. I saw your smile. Yeah. And went, what's been said? And I went and read it, and I know exactly what you were smiling at.
Yeah, someone's just written, big man not picking the penalty taker. Someone record this for the history books, and that's made me chuckle. That's correct. I just wanted to point out that, I love picking penalty takers, but another thing that I love doing is picking players who play 90 minutes. And if you look at the expected minutes for these three Bournemouth midfielders, then I believe that Kluivert's are the weakest, because he's the one who's most prone to getting subbed early if you look at the recent minutes. So I guess that's one of the other reasons why I don't exactly like Kluivert as much as I like Dango and Semenyo.
If Kluivert I'm just counting game, he could come out the 11th.
Also, I also want to mention
he's set and forget Semenyo. Kluivert needs to play well to stay in the 11.
Also, I forgot to mention, yes, we're discussing and comparing these midfielders, and we're picking one of them. Why not double up? The fixtures are so good. The prices are so good. Sure. What's stopping us from doubling up for them? Yes, I guess, a lot of people don't exactly have the free transfers to make their moves this week. But for example, after the double is done, you can swap Rodgers out for, Semenyo or Dango, whichever one you don't have. I am a huge fan of doubling up because, Bournemouth mates, what they allow is that they allow you to even get through game week 30. If you decide to wildcard in 31, Bournemouth are playing Ipswich at home. And they're likely to offer fantastic value. So I'm a huge fan of even doubling up. So for me, it's actually not a case of one or the other. I might go for two of them if I can.
I took these stats, Dean, from when Dango came into the 11, which I think was 5 games ago. In those 5 games, I think Dango's had 5 starts, Semenyo 5, maybe Kluivert 4. But very, very similar minutes across the board. We can see Kluivert wins out in terms of the goals. The goal attempts as well. Like we can see Semenyo is on 17. He is the shot monster in that team. But there's very little in it splitting them. Like the numbers aren't that... We've got a graph that I'll show, or we might be able to show, which maybe illustrates it even better. But Bigman's right, isn't he? Grab yourself a pair and doesn't really matter which.
That's definitely fair. And I wouldn't be put off necessarily by Kluivert. Across the whole season, his minutes will be down. But in the last 3 games, he's only missed 2 minutes from the 3 matches. So at the moment, Kluivert is one of the most trusted members of this Bournemouth team. And that's across games against Newcastle, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, 3 of the toughest games that Bournemouth will play all season. He's played 90, 88 and 90. So there's obviously a level of trust there. Now, obviously, playing against Southampton is a completely different fixture. And actually, Bournemouth will hope they can sub him early in that game. They'll hope that he comes off around 68 minutes because they intend to be 3-0 up by that point. We've got to hope that Kluivert is the guy that's got among the goal contributions to make that difference. But when I see all of those stats that you just had up a second ago, it's Kluivert that jumps out at me. This diagram you're showing right now is one of
Kluivert. He's around the outside here.
Yeah, exactly. This again just illustrates why he's such a good pick all round.
They all are. These 3 players, you could put them up against an Anthony Gordon or a good performing midfielder at the moment, and these 3 pretty much win out. Their price all starts with a 5. It's crazy, really.
Yeah, it's a strange one for sure. In terms of how we've got to this moment with Bournemouth and
without owning them.
Yeah, exactly.
They've been good for a fair few weeks, Bournemouth. They went 10 games unbeaten before Liverpool. Yet only now we're going all Southampton and entry point. But really, everyone watching should own a Bournemouth midfielder already, and we don't because we've probably been blinkered by Bruno Fernandes. No, or there's so many examples of that.
Yeah, exactly. And 100% reasons to get off Bruno Fernandes at the moment. If you've got him, then there's...
I can't wait to sell. I cannot wait.
Very nice switch to make from Bruno to a cheaper option that is much better.
All right, well, let's turn our attention away from Bournemouth mids. And guys, let's talk managers, assistant managers. Many of you are here for that. We've put that on the thumbnail. We'll do a poll, who's your assistant manager this week if you're on one? Is it Slot or is it Emery? Big man, if you're on Moyes, you have to jump. Are you finding ways to jump to a Slot and downgrading a Liverpool asset? Or have you made your bed? If you're on Moyes, you go to Emery. It's a no-brainer, right? That's obviously what I'm doing. And you've got that table bonus option with the Liverpool game.
Absolutely.
And it's 2 homes for Emery.
I think it's a very simple transfer. It's probably the easiest transfer to make all season.
Yeah.
Had it been a Spurs double or a Fulham double, you could have considered swapping to one of their managers. But I don't think I would, commit massive surgery. And because a lot of people who I assume are on David Moyes have already tripled up on Liverpool, right? So they don't need to commit massive surgery and sell one of their Liverpool players and then sell the manager and just to get Slot. And I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think you can go with a Villa player, 2 Villa players, and go with Emery as well.
Dean, how do you fancy Emery? Home to Ipswich is surely a banker, but that upset against Liverpool, no one's backing Emery to go, yeah, you're going to beat Liverpool. Just like no one said, Moyes, you're going to beat Liverpool. But is there a chance they nick a point and it's an 8-point draw or even a shock? It could be on the cards. Emery can in one-off games. We saw it against Bayern Munich at Villa Park this season.
Yep.
He's the type of manager that can go and cause an upset.
There's much worse punts to take with this chip than to go for Emery to to pull off a result against Liverpool, especially as Villa are currently 8th in the league, Liverpool top. So you get that little bonus as well that exists. That's going to be hard to get across this season. It's just kind of like the trustworthiness, I guess, of Aston Villa at the moment. When you look across their results, like it's a bit all over the place. Losing to Wolves, they beat Celtic, but it was a strange old game. West Ham, they drew 1-1, lost to Monaco, a draw with Arsenal, squeeze past. So like you look across that and you're like, team's a bit hard to trust, but they've obviously gone big in the transfer market and tried to make significant changes. And I think that they will benefit from that. And actually, when you consider how Villa do in big matches at home, like they've done pretty well. Obviously, there was the Man City win, 2-1. They managed to beat Manchester City. I know Man City haven't been that hard to beat this season, but still, Aston Villa did do it. And so, yeah, an occasion like this, I feel like is something that they'll be ready for, and they'll be wanting to prove that they can truly like make this jump up. Like they're into the later stages of the Champions League. They want to be in top 5 or 6 again this season in the Premier League, and they want to be attracting new players. And Emery is kind of the mastermind behind it all. So I don't think it's the worst punt in the world. I mean, as I say, I don't think I'm going to take it. I think I'll leave the assistant manager chip until later on in the season now. But in terms of a bonus, like the Ipswich game should be fine, right? That should be fine. And then
you might get a few goals, which is extra point every time.
Well, it might be like what you got from Moyes is basically what I'm expecting. The same situation that basically exists.
4-0 would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, big man, if you could swap slot and double Liverpool to Emery and triple Liverpool. So if you could swap for my setup without any points hits, just to click your fingers and you've now got Emery instead of slot, but you've got Gakpo, Trent and Salah. Would you do it, or would you stay with what you're on?
I don't think there's a significant difference. I would expect all of them to score fairly similarly. And we need to consider, for example, what happened this week, right? We were expecting big swings from the assistant manager chip, but we have to take into account that, a lot of people who were on Moyes had triple Liverpool. A lot of people who were on slot had, double or triple Everton, like I did. So these things are directly proportional. So if Everton do well, so will those with double Everton defense or double Everton in their teams. And similarly, likewise, when Liverpool do well, so will Salah, so will Trent, so will Alisson, Gakpo, etc. So I don't think there'll be a huge difference. I think I'm fairly happy with where I am with slot. I guess you can make a case of having triple Liverpool because it may be better in the long run, but I don't think there's a significant difference between, let's say, slot and a +2 Liverpool assets, and let's say a 3 Will assets versus Emery and 2 Will assets versus +3 Liverpool assets. I don't think there's a huge difference.
Oh, I'm quite excited for Villa, I think with Moyes, I feel like there's like a 5% chance I get a win and an upset. With Emery, I feel like that 5 is more like 15, 20. And with that, I'm like, high chance of a draw as well then. Just fancy that Villa could maybe cause a shock. I mean, Dean, should I be feeling slightly optimistic there?
I mean, it's just not inconceivable. I mean, this season is a weird one. I mean, one of the problem you've got is one of the only things that has been consistent is that Liverpool don't slip up much. Like that's the only thing that kind of flies in the face of your logic. But,
just that Bournemouth game, it's the away trip that gives me confidence. Liverpool at Anfield, I don't think I could ever bet against.
But that's the thing, mate. I kind of bet. That's why I played my bench boost, because I had Kluivert and Kirkes on the bench for Bournemouth. Yeah. And I was like, there's no way that this is going to be a straightforward win for Liverpool. And you now look back at it on paper and it's a 2-0 Liverpool win. And it looks like they kind of went through and got a routine win. It was anything but that, but they still did it. So, the only thing we really know about this season is Liverpool get the job done. And so that's the difficulty that we've got in determining whether we can get any upsets along the way. I am interested to know what you guys think of Trent, because obviously, I'm not touching him and haven't touched him. But, he's got a knock. He's going to be rested for this week. a lot of people have got him in thinking at least they'd have a double-double on the cards from Trent. I personally don't think he'll be able to play all those games if he's got this problem. But what's your feeling now on him?
I'm not sure he does play the second game in 24. I think he probably does, but I'm not confident of it. I am more confident on 25 though. And we had a question in the chat. Would you sell Trent for Slot? If you're selling Trent and you're on an Emery, could you consider, if you're selling Trent, going to Kirkez, for example, or Munoz, and then thinking, actually, I could get Slot now. Personally, I prefer Emery to Slot because I just like the Ipswich fixture and I like the fact I could get a 20-pointer.
Yeah.
But Trent, let's see. I mean, he's not going to be involved in the FA Cup. Same as Watkins. Him and Watkins very similar. I think both will probably end up playing both in the double in 25. But there is still a lot of football to be played till we get to 25. So with that, we get more touch points with managers and interviews and pre and post match pressers. But it's definitely a watch this space. I've seen a couple of comments in the chat from Andy Burton. That's so lovely of you, mate. Guys, I'm no connection with this, but hit the like and subscribe, join the chat for free. It helps them and it's good to be nice. Thank you so much, Andy. Twisted Dance, 30 likes, 290 people. Come on, people. It only takes a click. You lot are doing our job.
Yeah, I mean, we have nearly got 100 likes now, so I don't know if that was a lag on his behalf, but we are getting up towards 100 likes. But we do want over 100 likes from this show, so please do help us to get there so that we get seen more. We would appreciate that.
Good stuff. There we go. Well, look, we're 43 minutes of the way through. We do have our teams to show you in terms of where we're at to date. We can give you our early transfer plans. So look, let's show our teams and give our sort of initial takes. Of course, no one's setting in any transfers until the game week's over. That's next Wednesday. But also we've got all the FA Cup action. Maybe Rashford goes and scores a hat-trick for Villa this weekend, and we all change our mind on him. Who knows? But
no way is that happening. No
he's not even starting, is he?
Sure. I think he might have to start. He might have to start. But a Rashford hat-trick would really be, of all the weird storylines we've had this season, that one would blow my mind more than anything else based on what we've seen so far.
You've got triple Liverpool already, so you're well set. You don't have any Aston Villa. Oh, you got Luca Dean. So are you thinking you'll probably add a Villa?
If I do anything, then that's what it's going to be. As I say, Luca Dean can come into the lineup. The only problem I'll really have if I do make the Villa change, which would be a midfielder, would be who am I leaving out? Because it's going to mean that I have to. Oh yeah, and Burmo, Kluivert, and Palmer are the ones that are going to would have to be transferred out, and then one would have to probably be left out unless I'm going to leave Isak on the bench, which I'm not going to do. So that'd be the dilemma of it. Do I trust that Rodgers over 2 games, is worth that transfer? Is basically what I've got to figure out. I haven't really had much success. Whenever I've picked Rodgers in this game, I've got nothing back from him. So that's one problem. But yeah, that's the only change I'm really contemplating at the moment. I'm happy with the rest of the team.
Okay, nice. We're going to have plenty of time for questions, so we'll move on to mine or Bigman's team. And by the way, guys, we haven't mentioned triple captaincy. If you did go triple captain this game week, fair play, because all the noise around assistant manager, and some actually went, I'm going to triple captain Mo, and he's already on 2 with still another fixture. That's huge.
Yeah. Looks like that was a good player.
Yeah. I went Moisey. You can see 12 there. Munoz on my bench is the most disappointing thing. Enzo, I have 2 returns on my bench, but stinking up the place. I'm happy. I don't mind when Rodgers gets me a 1-pointer. I think he's a good pick. But for too long, Bruno and João Pedro have been in this team, and they've just got to go. It's shocking on my part that I own both those penalty takers. I've been listening to someone for far too long.
He hasn't even been telling you to do it.
I know. When you're doing badly, you just want to blame someone. I've got no one to blame but myself. Lewis Hall as well, I should add. I do think he's a good pick.
You're unlucky with him.
I play him a little bit too much because of his assist threat, because of the corners. He does sometimes get me an assist. In the week, we just saw him keep a clean sheet against Arsenal. Lewis Hall and Newcastle are a good defence, but I don't think they're good enough. When I've got players like Munoz on my bench, I probably need to be benching Hall a little bit more. So lesson learnt there. I actually sold Matt Sells. So Matt Sells isn't in this team, but I'll take the 9 points. I had Pickford, who I think also got... Did Pickford get a 9? Pickford actually outscored Sells.
Yeah, Pickford got 9. Yeah, Pickford got 9.
So I'm happy with that transfer. The easiest decision of the season for me. I've got 2 frees. I'm using 3 transfers, a 4-point hit. Moyes to Emery, Bruno to Dango, and João Pedro to Ollie Watkins. And I do think Watkins and Trent will be fit, but we'll know before. So I haven't got to commit to anything yet.
Yeah.
The good thing about having Enzo is I don't have a benching dilemma every week because I'm seeing your team. Like, Dean, it's hard when you've got 8 good
I have
attackers.
got a benching dilemma all the time. Yeah, I have.
Enzo can rot on the bench. Enrico Lewis can too, although I'd ideally like that spot to be someone slightly cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay. Big man, I see your... Oh, I don't think we've got your team, Big man, but you can talk us through it. We'll come off my team and talk yours. How's yours looking?
Yeah, so someone was asking me in the chat as to who my assistant manager was. I played it on slot, so I have slot and I have Trent with Salah. I'm relatively well placed. I have 2 free transfers actually heading into this week, and I actually got Konsa last week as well. So I have Konsa and Rodgers already in place. I have triple Liverpool with the assistant manager chip activated. So it's worked out well. Had the Liverpool result not gone my way, I think I would have been in deep trouble. But I've been bailed out with the Liverpool result. And I think this was actually the most important game of my game week. And, funnily enough, it wasn't a Premier League game. It was the Cup game because it was going to have a huge say in how, some of my coming weeks were going to go. Now, I think I'm probably going to sell Eze. If Eze is not fit, which could be the case because he's not being risked in the Cup, I'm not exactly sure whether he's going to play, 80 or 90 against Everton. I think I'm eyeing up a Bournemouth mate, very likely Dango, like Jani mentioned. And if Watkins is fit, I think I will sell Isak to Watkins. I think those are the 2 transfers I am realistically looking at. I guess I can get Martinez if Watkins isn't fit, but I guess it will come down to Watkins's minutes. And either way, I would really want to ensure that I go into this double with triple Liverpool and triple Villa, given the position that I'm in.
I can't wait to have the discussion. I think the Isak debate will continue, which I'm really up for. I think it's a really interesting discussion. Great player, team doing really well, but doesn't play in 29, and there is a doubler. And the only way of getting to him, no one's selling Salah, or you don't really want to be selling Palmer. And the cash cow therefore has to be Isak. But do we really think that Watkins is worth it? Like, we're not selling Isak to accommodate someone at the very top of their game for a team that's winning every week. Like, Ollie Watkins could very easily blank across the double.
This is actually a very different sort of debate from the selling Isak one. And I am actually more concerned about let's say what I'll do with Watkins after game week 25, right?
It's Chelsea 26, I think.
Yeah, because Aston Villa's fixtures aren't the best. Would I want to go with Jackson? I'm not sure because with the midweek fixture coming up as well for Chelsea, I don't think I want to risk Maresca's rotation, even though Chelsea's fixtures are really good.
And he's had a hamstring injury, Jackson.
Yeah, these are exactly the sort of fixtures we've seen historically. These are exactly the sort of fixtures that he actually misses out in, right? So I wouldn't want to count on Jackson. So would I go for Havertz? I think that's a possibility. But exactly, I'm not exactly convinced. So Isak to Watkins is still sort of up in the air for me. But yeah, I mean, if Watkins is fit, I think I'll very likely go there.
Cunha, by the way, Freddie and a few in the chat are mentioning Cunha, who's obviously a lot cheaper, but Cunha has got some great fixtures. We just haven't seen under the new manager much from Cunha, have we?
Yeah, it doesn't really convince me so far.
No, I think there's just better picks out there. It's not that he's not going to return at any point soon, because he will. Like, he's still going to be a key player for Wolves. He's got to be a key player to make sure they don't go down. But there's just better picks out there for me.
Visser or Chris Wood for the next 4 games? I mean, I can't discuss Chris Wood. Dean, you can answer this. You're the only one that owns him.
Am I really? Blimey. I mean, there's absolutely no way that I can tell you not to pick Chris Wood for these games. I mean, Fulham away. I mean, you've spoken a few times about Marco Silva as assistant manager pick for that game, and I've throughout this been like, it's Fulham's home form against Nottingham Forest. And yesterday, I spoke to 2 of my friends who are both season ticket holders at Fulham, And I said to both of them, I was like, what do you make of this Forest game? One of them said, I don't think I'm even going to go. And the other one said, nah, that's not a game we win. Like, no one can see it. You watch Fulham week in, week out. The way that Nottingham Forest play is a nightmare for Fulham. It's a nightmare. Yeah. They will sit behind the ball. They will break, and they will make the most of moments. And that is what Fulham cannot handle. They will not give them the space to break away into, like the kind of spaces that they got against Newcastle. Said it 1,000 times. Fulham just much more suited at the moment to playing away from home. At the moment, we're losing. We've lost Reece Nelson. We've got Harry Wilson out now, injured. Willian's come in, so you can't really rely on him too much. We're a good team, and you would like to think that Fulham would have faith against Nottingham Forest, but I mean, I 100% would expect Chris Wood to return in that game, and that's me being a pessimistic fan.
If Spurs had won last night, I'd have gone Postecoglou over Silva. I did a bit more research, and I thought if Spurs actually had knocked Liverpool out, they'd have gone to Brentford and got something, Liverpool and got something. I'm going to back Silva to actually Postecoglou to actually go to Fulham and get a result. So yeah, I think I hear you there. Konza, guys, don't go buying an Aston Villa defender. Like, honestly, like Bigman says, after the double, they've got bad fixtures, but Aston Villa don't keep cleans. I wouldn't be surprised if Ipswich score. And almost certainly at a similar price point, I bet if you're looking at Konza, you don't own Munoz or Kirkez. Those two are so much better. Like, go buy Daniel Munoz, guys. If you don't own Munoz, I feel like I've been saying it every week for the last 2 months. Go and buy Daniel Munoz.
He's good. He's good. And that breakaway that he's got, they've got a situation now on the other side as well with Chilwell coming in, but I imagine Mitchell carries on for now. Troy says, good evening.
I'd love to see Chilwell starting. I really hope he does.
Yeah. If you're thinking about Watkins, Villa players for the double, what are your plans to tackle a blank game week 29? Free hit. Also, the way City are playing could mean big returns for Isak. That is a good point. I mean, big man, are you not nervous of jumping off of Isak when you watch the way that Man City give up chances?
I am, and I expect him to do well. It's just the way I play. I generally go for the guy with the high volume of fixtures. That's one of the reasons I got NDI in this week as well. I'm just a sucker for double game weeks. That's just who I am. I actually have a question for you guys as well, which I'd like to get answered. Especially Johnny, you, because you're on the assistant manager chip. So in game week 26, which assistant manager are you looking at? Because that is a very tricky one.
Bad week.
It is a bad week for sure, because there are fixtures like Leicester Brentford is one, I guess, where you can get the table bonus. But on the flip side, game week 26 is also a game week where captaincy is difficult, and a lot of us might consider captaining Mbomo. So it'd be funny if we captain Mbomo and use the chip on Ruud van Nistelrooy the same week. It won't make any sense, right?
My problem is I look at that and there's very few fixtures with the table bonus up for grabs in 26. We'll know more by then. There might be a few, like Wolves, Bournemouth. Probably not going to go there. Like, you want your table bonus fixture. You want them to be the home team. If Wolves were at home and Bournemouth were away, maybe I could look at that, but it's flipped. I can't.
But Everton to beat Man United.
Huh?
Everton to beat Man United.
There won't be 5 places between them, will there?
Sorry, I keep forgetting how bad they are. I keep forgetting.
City versus Liverpool.
At the moment, I'm thinking Pep. But my problem with Pep is I don't have 1.5 million. I'll be 0.2. I'll have 1.2 I'll have 0.5 in the bank from Emery by going Dango this week, and that only leaves me then with 1.3 to spend. And there are no managers at 1.3, so I could play safe with an Arteta. He's 1.5, home to West Ham, or I could go to Pep. But again, that's 1.5. So I'm looking at another 4-point hit maybe, which is really annoying. But I could take that and go Pep. That's what I'm thinking at the moment.
Yeah.
If I go bonus,
I can go Pep as well. I can go Pep as well, but I don't mind Van Nistelrooy, to be very honest. I think Leicester could upset Brentford. I think Leicester could upset Brentford.
Mate, big chance Brentford. I'll ruin Leicester.
Brentford's away form has been horrendous this season, though.
I just can't invest in Leicester.
Yeah, I hear you. It is dodgy for sure. And knowing how safe I generally play, I'll probably go Arteta versus West Ham, because that's like a banker, I guess, for Arsenal. Is it though? Oh, West Ham are playing
Yeah,
slightly better under
Potter's
Potter.
playing quite. What about? There's not going to be a 5-point gap between Ipswich and Spurs, is there? There's no. Is there a chance there's a 5-place gap between those two teams? Could we go McKenna?
Well, Ipswich did beat them away from home, so
Yeah, I had the armband on Solanke that day. Don't remind me.
I don't think there will be a 5 places gap, but I think next game week will be really interesting because captaincy again. There is no obvious captain. Have you looked at captaincy for game week 26? It's going to be very tricky.
Dean, what's your anyone's jump out at you for 26?
Or for captain?
Or for the upset on assistant managers, like
I mean,
it's not.
I can't really see the upset. No, as I say, like I was looking at Everton as an upset, but I keep forgetting that's not really an upset. But yeah,
and captaincy Salah against City is fine. Like City just can't defend.
I probably would go with that. Like that's probably where I'll be at. It'll be that, or I'll go Isak at home to Nottingham Forest. But that would be a bit more risky because not many people will be doing that at the time. So it will depend what my position is at the moment, and whether I need to chase points or whether I can just take the comfort pick.
At the moment, I'm looking at Mbomo. Maybe Mbomo.
Yeah, it's fair. And Mbomo, you could hedge with Van Nistelrooy, couldn't you? It's a bit like Pep. I could go Pep and Salah, and then I'm winning on one of them.
I mean, there is a hypothetical scenario where it could work out because I mean, let's say
high scoring defeat.
Leicester can win 3-1 or 3-2, and then it will work out. It will work out really, really well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nathan. Really appreciate that. And guys, listen to the man. He spent 5 of his very good pounds asking you lot to hit some buttons. So go on, make him happy this Friday. Thanks, Nathan. We had a really good question, but it before the Cunha one that flashed up. I don't think we answered it. It was about free hit in 29. I am looking to do it. Big man's looking not to and navigate with free transfers. It's very difficult to navigate 29 with frees. If you've got loads of players playing that are blanking, I've got 8 as things stand. But 2, if you're using all your transfers on things like assistant managers, you just can't accumulate them like you maybe thought you were going to be able to a couple of weeks ago. And that's where I was at. My chip strategy with the double has changed. Therefore, me free hitting in 29 has changed. Guys, thank you so much for all of you watching. It's Friday night, a slightly different time slot. We've really enjoyed your company this evening. Over 300 of you in the house, and I hope all of you on catch up. Guys, if you're watching on catch up, which like 75% of you watch on catch up, we want you to feel part of the show. If you drop a comment and ask a question, our producers will get back to you. Like that is a very much.
I'll get back to you unless you're mean to me.
There you go. Dean even looks at the comments. I sometimes look at the comments. Same as Big Man. So, guys, it really helps the algorithm. I can't tell you. YouTube, if they see 100 comments on a video, you get pushed. So we're going to make a real conscious effort to be proactive in the comments of these videos because, yes, the live is important to us, but 75% of you don't watch live, and we're also here for you lot. Yeah. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the FA Cup weekend, guys. Any final thoughts from you guys?
No, I'm just going to wait for a couple of hours. Not even that. Man United are about to get knocked out the FA Cup probably today, aren't they? So just for a new low in Amarim's time at Man United. So I'm going to go and see if Man United can avoid a banana skin.
Love that. Big man.
Yeah, I'm just going to watch the game as well, then go to sleep.
Yeah, will you go to sleep at half time? Will you see it through?
I'll try my best.
That's a
Don't do it, mate. It's not worth it.
Don't do that.
Go get your beauty sleep. I think I'm gonna have a night off. I cannot watch Bruno another week in his deep trying to be Andrea Pirlo role, and Amarim forcing a team that is not set up for a back 5 to continue to play back 5. Anyway, I hope Leicester beat him. Let's go Van Nistelrooy. See you on Monday, guys. Bye bye.